On September 9, 1956, a photograph was captured that would become one of the most famous images in rock and roll history. But it wasn't just any photo. It was a picture full of mystery, glamour, and a bit of boldness. It showed the king of rock, Elvis Presley, sharing a kiss with an unknown woman backstage at a theater in Richmond, Virginia. For over 50 years, the identity of this woman remained a mystery. Who was she, and what really happened in that magical moment, immortalized for eternity? Get ready to dive into the story behind the photo that made Elvis fans around the world sigh and dream of the King's Kiss. In 1956, Elvis Presley was at the peak of his popularity, and his fame was exploding across the United States. Known for his innovative music and unique style, Elvis was more than just a singer. He was a cultural icon, challenging societal norms with his bold attitude, energetic performances, and provocative appearance. His music began to break barriers, and he quickly became the face of the rock and roll revolution, a new era of youthful expression and rebellion. When Elvis signed with RCA Victor, the record label that would catapult his international career, they hired photographer Alfred Wertheimer to document this meteoric rise. Unlike other photographers of the time, Wertheimer had unrestricted access to Elvis. He was one of the few allowed to follow the singer throughout his journey, capturing intimate moments and even Elvis's everyday life behind the scenes, away from the spotlight. Wertheimer's work was not just a visual record, but also a chronicle of the birth of a legend. During this period of accompaniment, Alfred Wertheimer took some of the most well-known photographs of Elvis, including intimate portraits in recording studios, train trips, and even on stage during his performances. These images were not just traditional artist poses, but rather a genuine exploration of who Elvis was as a person. They captured his humanity, the vibrant energy he radiated, and the unique way he connected with his fans and his team. Elvis wasn't just a star, he was at the center of a cultural phenomenon. Among Wertheimer's most iconic photos is the famous image of Elvis kissing a young woman, taken backstage at a show at the Mosque Theater in Richmond, Virginia. The photo was taken spontaneously, with no planning or rehearsal, making it even more powerful and authentic. While other images of Elvis were staged or composed, this capture is a reflection of the exact moment of a casual and intimate encounter, later immortalized by its spontaneity and the energy of the moment. The impact of Alfred Wertheimer on Elvis's images cannot be underestimated. His photos not only documented the singer, but helped shape Elvis's public image as an icon of rebellious youth. Wertheimer managed to capture the essence of what made him unique, not just the singer or the star, but the man with an unmistakable presence, exuding charm and magnetism. His images transcended conventional photography and became symbols of a cultural revolution. By putting his camera at the service of Elvis, Wertheimer not only recorded moments of his life, but also contributed to the creation of an icon, a timeless image that remains to this day, with the Richmond kiss photo being one of the greatest testaments to that era. These images, many of which were published in books and exhibitions, are not merely records of a moment in Elvis's career, but reflect a cultural phenomenon. They show how Elvis Presley became the face of a generation, shaping music, fashion, and even the perception of American youth. The Kiss photo, in particular, encapsulates the spontaneity and magnetism of Elvis, something that, even decades later, continues to be admired and revered. Alfred Wertheimer, in turn, not only captured Elvis at his peak, but also helped shape the way history would view the King of Rock. Looking at these images, we see more than a singer, we see a legend in the making. Wertheimer's work became one of the most important photographic collections of the 20th century, documenting not only Elvis, but the raw energy of an era that was about to change forever. The image of the kiss between Elvis Presley and a young woman backstage at the Mosque Theater in Richmond became one of the most emblematic moments in music history. But for over 50 years, the identity of the woman in the photo remained a mystery, fueling speculations, rumors, and theories. Several women claimed to be the famous mystery woman of the kiss, but until 2011, none of them had been able to prove their identity convincingly. In the decades following the capture of the photo, several women tried to claim the story and declare themselves as the central figure in the image, but the lack of tangible evidence and concrete records made their claims fragile. Some of these women even became media figures, with their stories being spread across newspapers and TV shows, but the truth seemed increasingly distant. This lack of clarification only heightened the mystery, making the photograph even more intriguing. The image itself was filled with emotion and a rare spontaneity in celebrity photos, which helped fuel the fascination surrounding the moment. As a photo so powerful and emblematic, it was immersed in speculations about who the woman next to Elvis was. Was she a young fan, a secret lover, or an anonymous character who became a legend? In 2011, finally, the veil of mystery was lifted. Barbara Gray, also known as Bobby Owens, revealed that she was the woman in the photograph. The revelation was a historic milestone, and Barbara's story added a new layer of authenticity to the image, confirming what many had suspected but few could guarantee. She revealed that in 1956, during Elvis's meteoric rise, she was just a young fan, unaware she would become part of music history. Barbara, at the time, was a 19-year-old college student with no intention of becoming part of Elvis Presley's legend. It all started when she and her friends, Elvis fans, decided to call the hotel where Elvis was staying in Charleston, South Carolina. To Barbara's surprise, Elvis answered the phone personally. They talked for almost an hour, and during that conversation, Elvis invited her to meet him in Richmond, where he would be performing. Barbara accepted the invitation and, upon arriving in Richmond, was escorted by Elvis on a visit to the Mosque Theater, where he was preparing for the show. On a warm summer afternoon, she was photographed by Alfred Wertemeyer, who was there documenting Elvis's tour. The spontaneous kiss, captured without rehearsal, conveyed a genuine intimacy between the two, something that would hardly be captured today when celebrity images are mostly carefully choreographed. After the photograph was taken, the image quickly became famous. But for Barbara, the moment remained private until much later. When she finally revealed herself to the public, many were surprised by the modesty of her story. She hadn't sought fame or attention. She was just a young woman who happened to live a unique moment with one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century. Though Barbara's identity was revealed, the mystery persists, as the photo captured something deeper than just a kiss. It symbolizes the fascination of a generation for Elvis, but also the way celebrity myths can be fueled by unsolved mysteries. Barbara's revelation brought closure to the story, but it didn't erase the fascination that the image still exerts today. Elvis's kiss and the unknown woman are not just a photograph. They are a symbol of youth, admiration, and a time that will never be forgotten. Barbara, who for many years was an anonymous character in Elvis's history, became a key figure in preserving the mystery behind the photograph. And although the mystery has been solved, the image continues to inspire curiosity. In 2011, when Barbara was finally identified, the secret of the Kiss Woman was revealed, but the magic of the photograph never lost its strength. What began as a simple, spontaneous photo turned into a cultural icon, representing not only Elvis Presley, but also the fleeting beauty of moments immortalized in history. The kiss photo between Elvis Presley and the young woman in Richmond was not just a moment captured by a camera. It became a cultural icon that transcended the moment it was taken, shaping the public perception of Elvis himself and, more broadly, of the pop culture of the 1950s. The photograph is not just a romantic scene between a young fan and a rock star. It encapsulates the essence of a cultural revolution that was occurring in society. In the 1950s, Elvis Presley represented much more than music. He embodied a generation that was breaking established social norms. The youth of the 50s were searching for identity and individual expression. The Kiss photo, with its spontaneity and emotional weight, captured that search. It was an image of liberation and raw emotion, something radically different from the polished, carefully composed images that dominated the media at the time. In an era where youth culture was beginning to emerge more boldly, Elvis was the face of that transformation. He challenged expectations, defied moral standards, and became a figure of desire and rebellion. The kiss was more than a gesture of affection. It became a symbol of a new era. An era of transition between the prudence of the previous generation and the boldness of the generation beginning to take to the streets. It was an expression of freedom, not just in music, but in how people interacted, behaved, and viewed the world. Elvis, with his relaxed attitude and irresistible charm, was the catalyst for this change. And the Kiss photo was the visual representation of that shift in mentality. As the Kiss photo spread, it became one of the most reproduced images of Elvis and was absorbed by the collective imagination. The photo of Elvis exchanging a kiss with the fan wasn't just a record of a spontaneous moment of adoration. It was also a piece of spontaneous publicity for Elvis himself. Every reproduction of the photo in the media, magazines, and newspapers only reinforced Elvis's status as the greatest pop icon of the time. He became synonymous with youthful freedom and desire, and the photo helped solidify that image. Furthermore, the photograph reflected the nature of fame in the pre-social media era, when access to the lives of celebrities was still restricted. It was a time when images were powerful, and a single photograph could become a narrative of its own, tied to the symbol of fame and desire. The photo, therefore, helped build Elvis's myth almost mythologically, representing him as more than just a star. He was a symbol, an icon of his generation. Over time, the cultural impact of the photo deepened. The image was shown in various art exhibitions, including at the Smithsonian Institution, where it began to be seen not only as a photo of a celebrity, but also as a work of art representing an era. It became one of the most recognized images of all time and started to be interpreted in different ways by various generations, reflecting changes in values and cultural attitudes over the years. For Elvis fans, the photo has never ceased to be a reminder of the raw energy and spontaneity he conveyed. It represents the vibrant youth of an era that was being shaped by Elvis, who, in turn, was being shaped by the youth who adored him. The image also remained a metaphor for the impact that music and public figures can have on the behaviors and attitudes of a generation. As time passed, the image was reinterpreted and recontextualized by different generations. For Elvis fans, it continues to be a window into the youth and immortal energy of his icon. Even with Elvis's death, his image remains alive, constantly revived in films, documentaries, books, and exhibitions. The Kiss photo has become a visual metaphor for Elvis's eternal appeal, a reminder of how his music and presence were able to defy time and continue to impact pop culture. Additionally, the image helped cement the emotional connection fans feel toward Elvis. This photo, in particular, is seen by many as a pure expression of love and admiration, a reflection of how Elvis and his music entered the lives of his fans and, in some ways, stayed with them throughout their lives. Like many of the great cultural images, it transcends mere photography and becomes a piece of the soul of the era it portrays. Finally, the Kiss photo also had a lasting impact on how celebrities would be perceived and portrayed in the decades that followed. With the increasing power of images in popular culture and the advent of social media, Elvis would no longer be the only one to have his images broadcast and spread. But the kiss between Elvis and the unknown woman remains an eternal reminder of how a simple photo can capture a moment of magic, an image that becomes not just a representation of an icon, but an important part of the cultural history of an era. Today, more than 60 years after its capture, the Kiss photo remains one of the most powerful and evocative images of Elvis Presley, reflecting not just the youth and energy of the time, but also the eternal legacy of one of the greatest icons of music and pop culture. It remains, to this day, a symbol of desire, freedom, and the spirit of a generation. And so, we conclude the story behind the photo that immortalized Elvis Presley's kiss, a moment of pure spontaneity that became a cultural icon. If you were as fascinated as we were by this tale of the king of rock and the young woman who became famous for an instant, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Turn on notifications so you won't miss any of the amazing content coming your way. If you enjoyed the video, like, share with your friends, and leave your comments below. We want to hear your opinion. What do you think about this story? Does Elvis's kiss truly symbolize the energy of his era? Let's keep this conversation going. See you in the next video, where we'll bring you more curiosities, mysteries, and music icons. Until then.